Hello, movie and entertainment fans, and welcome back to the Calvin Cam podcast, where we tackle all sorts of topics in the film, television, and video game world. I'm Calvin, and today is Thursday. You know what that means? No, you don't, because this is a first. Today's episode is the first main episode of the Calvin Cam podcast. Today's episode is my most anticipated films for 2023. Let's get into it. 2023, here we are, and this year is huge for films, with so many amazing movies that I am looking forward to. And for this episode, I decided to make a list of all the movies that I am looking forward to watching the most. My list is composed of 25 films, and that was hard for me to create because there are so many movies coming out this year. It boiled down to being true to what I really would rather see this year. So everybody better buckle up, because if you're a moviegoer, then this is a jam-packed year with a lot of screen time. So let's get started going down the list that I made, my most anticipated films of 2023. First on the list is the newest film from M. Night Shyamalan, called Knock at the Cabin. It is an apocalyptic thriller that tells the story of a couple and their adopted daughter who are approached by strangers and are asked to sacrifice one of their family members to essentially stop the apocalypse and save mankind. Now, M. Night Shyamalan hasn't had the best track record in making movies, but he has delivered some of the most iconic films in all of history, such as The Sixth Sense, Signs, and The Village. And Signs is actually the movie that inspired me to even begin my love and approach on filmmaking and movie going in general. I love Signs so much. M. Night Shyamalan, I'm really looking forward to any new movie that he comes out with. Even if they fail, I'm still always intrigued, and he knows how to get people back into the theater. He makes some of the most outstanding trailers, and that's enough to get viewers back into the theater to watch some new surprises on screen, whether they like them or not. But this film comes out February 3rd, and I'm ready for it. Next in February is the first film of Marvel Studios' Phase 5 lineup, which kicks off with the Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Now, Marvel has another year full of projects, not as much as Phase 4, but still a lot. And I am a fan of Marvel and all the MCU projects, mostly. But not every movie Marvel has in 2023 has made this list. Ant-Man, however, I think is going to be more important than people realize. It is the third Ant-Man film, and this movie features an incredible cast and introduces our first real look at Marvel's new big bad, Kang the Conqueror, who's played by Jonathan Majors. I've seen the trailers, and I am keeping expectations low, but I am starting this year going forward being a Marvel fan, staying away from creators and channels that generate too much hype. I'm tired of the rumors and the theories and possible cameos I hear. Honestly, it's starting to ruin the experience of watching these types of movies. So going in a little more blind than usual this time, Ant-Man is looking pretty damn good. That's it for February, and now going into March, we have Creed 3, another film with Jonathan Majors, who plays Damian Anderson, an old friend of Michael B. Jordan's character, Adonis Creed, Apollo Creed's son from the Rocky franchise, who resurfaces and confronts Adonis and challenges him to a boxing match. This movie is directed by Michael B. Jordan as well, so that has me really looking forward to what his directing style might be like. I think both him and Jonathan Majors are some of the greatest actors we have at the moment, so I'm really ready to see some incredible performances and hopefully a beautifully delivered story. This movie comes out March 3rd, and I'm excited to see. I love boxing, I love Rocky, and I'm happy to see that the story is continuing in different directions. Next is the sixth installment in the Scream franchise, Scream 6. Now, look, not all of the Scream movies are perceived well, but Scream has a special place in my heart. The first movie changed horror in the 90s, and as such a huge horror fan, I can't turn away completely when a new installment in this series comes out. And hey, at least this time the studio is doing something slightly different and will take the Scream franchise to a new location instead of Woodsboro, New York City, bigger setting might make things more terrifying, especially with the amount of people in that city. The only thing that gets me is the need to constantly bring back the legacy characters just to kill them off. So hope that really doesn't happen with Gale. But I'll be there. But I'm looking forward to see Ghostface kill some more. A week later, after Scream, on March 17th, a movie called 65 comes out. It stars Adam Driver and dinosaurs, so you can't go wrong with that. Adam Driver plays a survivor on a mission to transport a human colony and ends up stranded on a prehistoric Earth and has to survive. As a lover of the sci-fi genre and dinosaurs, I can't contain my excitement for this. I was one of those kids who would wake up and watch Sci-Fi Channel movies on Saturdays with my aunt, and in the 90s and the 2000s, and watching movies like Boa versus Python or Pumpkinhead, or even higher budget ones like Lake Placid or Anaconda or Arachnophobia. 65 reminds me of those days, and y'all know Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. So this one looks good from the trailer, and it looks like a fun ride. It's produced by another favorite director of mine, Sam Raimi, and written by the writers of A Quiet Place. Probably not John Krasinski, but I assume other writers. I'm in for it, so this is probably what Jurassic World should have been like. And the last one in March, on March 24th, I have John Wick 4. Keanu is back again, and he's going to do another nonstop badass installment in the John Wick franchise. John Wick has easily become one of the best set of action films to date. Everyone knows about it, and if you don't, just go watch them. If you like action, literally from start to finish, these movies are a must. Not to mention, it stars possibly the nicest man on earth, Keanu Reeves, who I will support until the end of time. We love you, Keanu. Now let's hop on over to a few April movies. First, we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie coming out April 7th. And at first, I was skeptical of the announcement of this movie, especially with the track record of video game movie adaptations. And the original Mario Bros. Movie back in the day, although nostalgic as it may be, it was not the best movie. But after the announcement of the cast of this new animated adaptation of Super Mario Bros. From Illumination Studios, and the first couple of trailers that I've seen from the movie, it's safe to say that this movie is going to be a blast. Still on the fence about Chris Pratt as the voice of Mario, but not a complete hater. I just want to see Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, I can't even imagine. I know I'm going to crack up, and I know it's going to be a great time. Toward the end of the month is probably my second most anticipated movie of the year. On April 21st, Evil Dead Rise. 2023 is a huge year for horror. There are so many horror movies coming out, but Evil Dead rises above the rest of them for me. The recent trailer that dropped gave us a great gory taste of this installment into the world of Evil Dead, and I have to say this one looks genuinely terrifying too. It is unknown whether or not it ties to the 2013 remake/reboot of Evil Dead or any of the other installments, but definitely captures the same feel as it. Bruce Campbell may not be returning as Ashley Williams, but he is producing for the film and says we will not be disappointed and that it is the scariest one of them all. I'm always ready to be scared, and in Bruce we trust. On the same day, another horror drama comes out called Beau is Afraid. A24 is quickly becoming an incredible film studio in almost every genre there is. Beau is Afraid looks like it will be another great addition to the A24 catalog. It is directed by Ari Aster, director of Midsommar and Hereditary. So you know damn well this is going to be somewhat unsettling, and that is exactly what I expect to feel knowing he is behind this movie. Him plus Joaquin Phoenix, one of the most talented method actors who I can already see winning awards for the performance he is about to give. I don't know anything about this movie, and I'm keeping it that way until it is released. There are a good amount of movies coming out in May, but I have only one on this list, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This will be James Gunn's final Guardians movie in the MCU, and it looks like it's going to be an emotional ride, so Marvel fans might want to bring it some tissues. I've seen the first trailer, and I don't intend to see any more beyond that. Although this movie is a finale for the Guardians team as we know it, I am excited to see the introduction of new MCU characters like Adam Warlock, aka Space Jesus, played by Will Poulter. Will most definitely be a great addition to this cast of characters. But the superhero movies don't end there on this list. Outside of the MCU, my most anticipated movie of 2023 sits. I am most excited for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse without hesitation. It comes out June 2nd, and the first film, Into the Spider-Verse, changed the game of the animation world and holds such a special place in my heart. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite Spider-Man movie there is. So of course I cannot hold my excitement in the second film. We have the return of Miles Morales, who has grown up a little and is on a new adventure throughout the Spider-Verse/multiverse, and it looks like we will get to see an insane amount of different Spider-Men in this movie just by what we've seen in the official trailer that dropped not too long ago. I am so ready for this movie. I am so ready to be blown back in my seat. Like, I know it is visually going to be one of the best movies, and I can't imagine it not getting any awards for best animation for the year. The movie hasn't even come out yet, and I just know that it's going to be a 10 out of 10. Sticking in the realm of animation is the next movie on my list. Disney Pixar's newest movie, Elemental, is set to release this year on June 16th. And it looks charming and cute. I'm always up for another Pixar film because their animation rarely disappoints. The last 3 Pixar movies, Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, were only released on Disney+, and they deserved more. So, it is nice to see Pixar making their way back into theaters. Although little is known about the plot, the film does depict the bond between 2 characters, Ember, a fire element, and Wade, a water element, who cannot touch each other, but discover how much they have in common. This movie gives me Inside Out vibes, and I'm sure it'll make me cry like all the other Pixar movies. On the last day of June, June 30th, Harrison Ford is back after 15 years to play Indiana Jones one last time in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. As a huge fan of the original trilogy, I am looking forward to this, and although Kingdom of the Crystal Skull wasn't the best, it still had its moments which I really enjoyed. Maybe not the swinging on the vines in the jungle so much, but there were a lot of moments like seeing Karen Allen as Marion again. That was nice. I'm just going to stay hopeful because of how much I love these characters in this franchise, and since last year was such a big year for Ke Quan, I can only cross my fingers for a short round return. Diving back into horror again, on July 7th, a new Insidious movie called Insidious Fear the Dark. Now, such a weird movie to make my list. I was rather disappointed with the 3rd and 4th films of this franchise, but I'm excited for this one because I am a fan of Patrick Wilson, and Patrick Wilson, who played the dad in the first 2 movies, will be taking this franchise back to its roots with the original cast. Insidious 1 was wonderful to me, and I'm happy to be revisiting this franchise knowing that I'll get to see these characters again. So I'm excited to see it. All right, we're going to transition now into the show's intermission, where I've come up with a few fun things to get you listeners more involved in the show, and then we will get right back to the last half of the episode. So we'll be right back. There are so many ways you, the fans, listening to the Calvin Cam podcast can help support the show grow to become bigger and better. Follow the show on all the main audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and Amazon, as well as the Calvin Cam YouTube channel. You can go and subscribe right now. Welcome to the intermission. We are going to begin with a trivia question. I am going to ask you, the audience, a film, television, or video game related question you can answer by commenting in the episode on YouTube. In next week's episode, I will reveal the answer. And after the trivia question, I will tell you one fun fact about a movie, show, or game. So, here's the trivia question. What was the first movie ever to be given a rating of PG-13? Don't just look it up. And now, the fun fact. O.J. Simpson almost played the role as Terminator, but James Cameron thought his persona was too pleasant to portray such a dark character. Yeah, good choice, Cameron. All right, now back to the episode. It's no surprise to see Tom Cruise pursue more adrenaline from free falling, and I can't help but to enjoy watching him. Ethan Hunt is back at it again in the newest Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and I'm here for it. Last year, I finally watched all of the Mission Impossible movies for the first time. I had only originally seen the first movie and later Ghost Protocol. But some great friends recommended I watch all of them, and so I did. Watching Tom Cruise pull off these amazing stunts and knowing that he actually did mostly all of them is something I will never get tired of. Can't wait to see what he does next. This movie comes out on July 14th, so it's a mission to the theaters, everyone. Now, on July 21st, there are two different movies that come out. Christopher Nolan has always had my attention with his unique directing skills, from Inception to the Dark Knight trilogy, and now his new film, Oppenheimer, the story of the creation of the atomic bomb, with a stacked star-studded cast, and I already know it's going to be incredible and an amazing cinematic experience. Now, on the same day, a different kind of film emerges. One fitted for the manliest men. An incredible story about the doll that changed the world, Barbie. Starring Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Will Ferrell, and one of my favorite people on the planet, Simu Liu. We will get to explore the wonderful world of Barbie in live action. I don't know what kind of movie this is going to be, but I can't wait for it. I'm going to see Barbie before Oppenheimer. I already know what I'm getting into with Oppenheimer. Therefore, I'm not as excited to see it as I am Barbie because I don't know what kind of experience I'm going to have with Barbie. So that's that for July 21st. Now, before we leave July, there is another movie set to be released this month that is special to me, with no given actual release date, but just sometime in July. Chris Stuckman, a man who I have been following for a long time on YouTube, is making his first full-length feature film, Shelby Oaks. Chris is such an amazing creator, and I am so happy for him that he finally gets to make his movie. Shelby Oaks is a horror movie about a woman's desperate search for her long-lost sister, falls into obsession upon realizing that the imaginary demon from her childhood may have been real. Everyone, go out to the theater and watch this movie to support my man Chris Stuckman. Please do it. Starting September off, I have The Nun 2 on my list. It comes out September 8th. Look, I just want it to be good, okay? I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one, but I am a fan of the whole Conjuring franchise. The Conjuring 2 is probably one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I'm always out there looking for a really good scare. I don't know what I'll be getting from this movie, but it can't be any worse, can it? About a week later, Kenneth Branagh, I can never say his name right, is back as Hercule Poirot, and I can never say that name right, for another murder mystery, A Haunting in Venice. The next film following Murder on the Orient Express and Death of the Nile. After reluctantly attending a seance, someone gets murdered and only Hercule can figure out who did it. Clue is a classic go-to movie for me, so when a movie like Knives Out or these movies get announced, I am looking forward to figuring out the mystery along with everyone else. And that concludes September. Now on October 6th, I am crossing my fingers on this one, especially after seeing Morbius. Kraven the Hunter is the next spin-off Spider-Man villain film set to release. And Kraven is one hell of a villain. It's hard to tell whether this character will be given justice or not, but either way, I am a Spider-Man fan, so I will be there to witness the rise or the fall of this movie, and who knows, maybe we'll get another Morbin Time meme. So, let's go. And on October 13th, which is Friday the 13th, we have The Exorcist. 50 years later, we are now revisiting The Exorcist with a sequel to the original film. The plot is unknown, but with a film that shook the world and the horror genre, it is easy to say that I am excited to be terrified once again. So moving on to November, we have Dune Part 2. Now I'm excited for Dune, but in a different way. I have yet to watch Dune Part 1. I know what I am doing, but I'm actually excited for this because I will get to experience these back to back. And with all the things I've heard about the way Part 1 ends, I won't have to wait now. So I see it as a win for me. I've seen the original 1984 Dune and loved it as a true sci-fi lover would. So of course I'm ready for a more advanced version. Desert planet, war over resources, royalty and leadership, sign me up. This film also has an amazing cast led by Timothée Chalamet. Shortly after, the next film has me intrigued. It is called Rebel Moon and is directed by Zack Snyder, who is a great man. The movie was originally made to be a Star Wars movie, but Disney did not want it, so Netflix picked it up. Although I don't know anything about it, I love the title, and I already know the tone because of Zack Snyder's movies. A movie like Rebel Moon being dropped by a big company seems to be kind of like an underdog thing. So, especially with it being intended to be a great Star Wars movie now becoming its own IP, I want to see what it's about. And the last movie of the year on my list, on December 15th, we have Wonka, also starring Timothée Chalamet as a young Willy Wonka in the origin story. As a fan of the original adaptation of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder, a movie that I have watched more times than I can count, and Tim Burton later on with Johnny Depp version, which was Burton's take on the story, I'm curious what this new take on the Willy Wonka's character will look like, especially with a younger version of himself. So we'll see how that goes. So that concludes my most anticipated movies of 2023. I'm really excited about this year. Movies are going to be insane. There are so many more movies that didn't even make this list that I am going to watch. I'm just not as excited for them as I am for the movies that I've chosen. Not to mention like the amount of streaming movies, and like I'm going to do future episodes in the next couple of weeks of like shows coming out. I'm also going to be doing reviews on video games that are coming out. Dead Space is coming out tomorrow, I believe. So I will be dropping a review for that probably next week. And you know, further on in February, we're going to have Hogwarts Legacy, so I'm going to be tackling that, of course. But thanks for listening in and watching and supporting me, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in and watching the Calvin Cam podcast. Like I said before, please support me by going and following me on all audio streaming platforms, hitting those follow buttons, going to YouTube, subscribing. It's really going to help this channel grow and become something that is only going to be better and great. And it's for you, the fans, and it is for me as well, because this is what I want to do with my life. So help me out, and I'll deliver the best content that I can possibly push out for you. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a good day.